Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Good morning
Thanks for
to
having us.
Trinidad and Tobago. Yes.
How are we doing this morning?
Fine.
Yeah?
Really?
But it's good.
I mean, I want us to just recap in case anybody may have missed the conversation last time or living under a rock. How would we get into defining human trafficking, Mr. Miguel?
Human trafficking is the taking of a human being and exploiting that person. When Trinidad and Tobago is mainly for sexual purposes, yes, but it is about the exploitation of persons, and you find that persons with vulnerabilities, whether it's from natural disasters, whether it's from political and economic upheaval in a country, which forces them to migrate. Within that migration, there is the opportunity for exploitation, and persons come together to profit from that type of exploitation. And this is what we're dealing with here, especially in Trinidad and Tobago.
And that's the exploitation that we want to end with this year's theme: human trafficking as organized crime and the exploitation. Now, interestingly, there was a U.S. trafficking in persons report from 2025 that put Trinidad and Tobago in Tier 2. Deputy Director, what does that mean?
We are going in the right direction.
Okay.
So the U.S. State Department, they do what we call the TIP report. And the TIP report really speaks to all countries who are under the assessment range. And the tier system starts from Tier 1, which we hope to become very soon.
Okay.
Tier 2, which says that your country is moving in a good direction, but still has not yet meet full criteria. Tier 2 watch list, which speaks to the fact that you're not doing all that you need to do, and you might indeed face sanctions that comes in Tier 3.
Okay.
So we are in a good place.
Did we start in Tier 2 or did we start in Tier 3?
We have been a Tier 2 watch list for some time, yeah.
Okay.
And we've been able to get ourselves out of Tier 2 watch list onto Tier 2.
How did we get out of the watch list?
Hard work.
I mean, I figured as much, but tell me what does the hard work look like? Because, I mean, for persons who looking on, they might say, well, yeah, I don't do human trafficking, so I don't know how the whole country ended up on our watch list. Tell me about some of the work that you actively have to do, some of the partnerships maybe that you have to operate with to be able to get us out of that watch list into a safer place and then to get down to Tier 1.
So exactly, what is happening is that the report is really based on the 4P platform.
Okay.
So we have to be able to show that we have done the necessary things. 4Ps being protection. Protection is stating that our government has done what is necessary to ensure that there is food, there is shelter, there's psychosocial support for a person that is deemed a victim of trafficking.
Right.
Then there is prevention. This here, sitting with you, speaking to Trinidad and Tobago about it, all our public awareness. We went to schools. We had over 2,500 students. Went to guidance counselors. We went to churches. We did what was necessary to be able to bring the message across in trafficking. And I was happy to hear you say that you heard us moving around.
Of course,
I'm happy. I mean, our social media is alive, our Facebook, our Instagram. Then, of course, there is prosecutions. Trinidad and Tobago has now have 2 convictions in trafficking in persons. So that's another direction that we want to be able to progress with all the new amendments in legislation. And of course, partnerships, as you indicated.
Right.
So the partnerships with international organizations, even with the ministries and other government agencies, is how we progress towards the 4P platform, and we continue to move in a positive direction on the tier system.
Director, tell me about some of the multi-agency law enforcement partnerships that you guys have undertook.
Well, we cannot prosecute trafficking in persons unless we do partnership. Our unit is way too small for that. And the police service, they have primacy in terms of crime. Trafficking in person is a crime. So it is necessary, is natural for us to form partnerships with the TTPS, and not just the TTPS, but immigration. You can see the connection there with immigration. We have the defense force. We have personnel from there. So we are a civilian-led multi-agency unit, and it's the only way you can really tackle this in comprehensive ways to form these partnerships and so on. And the police, they have, I must admit, they have quite a bit of tools that we regularly go to them and say, well, look, we need for you to deploy here, deploy there. We need this tool here, whether it's cyber or whatever. So,
are you able to get that assistance when,
yes,
when you ask for using the tools?
You know, and I must say, you know, that I am happy with the development of that relationship. Yes, the police service is finally starting to understand the role of the Counter Trafficking Unit vis-a-vis the whole crime tapestry.
Right.
So we now are forging some really, really strong unions, and we are doing a great job in terms of keeping Trinidad and Tobago elevated out of that watch list and on trajectory to Tier 1.
That's very, very heartwarming to hear, because every year we hear about how much is spent on national security in the budget, and we often wonder, well, where that money going? And to hear that we have the tools necessary is really, really a step in the right direction, in my humble opinion. Yeah. I want to get back to the 4 Ps, Deputy Director, because that third one, prosecution. You said we've had 2 people prosecuted, and that's a number that we should be happy with, or we should be looking for more? Because I feel like they have more than 2 persons responsible for this organized crime of human trafficking.
So let me be very clear. We have 2 convictions.
Convictions, right.
We have several prosecutions that are waiting to come before the court.
Right.
And is our intention that the numbers will increase. Trafficking in persons, and I want you to understand, most of our victims are foreign national men and women who would return home, and the whole process of returning after several years tends to be a little burdensome. And as I indicated, with the introduction of a JIPA, where we are seeing a more faster movement of matters through the court, we believe, it is our honest, verily believe that we will get more convictions coming to the table.
Okay. I know the people on the outside often comment and they say, well, when these things happen, when they hear about prosecutions or convictions even happening, it often tends to be with the lowest hanging fruit. And we do tend to get to the root of the problem. Have you been able to even sort out what the root of this human trafficking problem is? Are we able to identify or even say, well, I think it might be, or it leading in this direction based on the evidence that we've gathered?
I think what is happening is, as Director indicated, there is a vulnerability. And anybody, 2, 3, 4 persons might decide that I'm going to see how best I could capitalize on this vulnerability. So we have the movement of persons. They are here. And of course, they're looking for employment. The first thing is looking for an opportunity to exit their homeland and don't have the capacity to do so. And that is so a simple, I'll arrange for you to come.
Right.
They have now incurred a debt.
Right.
And that becomes a debt bondage. So anybody who has access to a boat, so you have a friend who have access to a boat, could you bring in somebody from the mainland? And then when they come, somebody have access to a maxi taxi, could you bring them into a district, a community? Somebody who has a residential home that they don't use, you have 2 or 3 bedrooms, you can store them there. So you see how
it becomes a network.
That's it. Simple, simple, simple.
Interesting. In terms of you mentioned the partnerships with the various law enforcement agencies. You have a partnership with the Coast Guard. I didn't hear you drop their name.
Oh, yes.
Talk about the boat and it make me wonder one time.
No, certainly, the Coast Guard, and they are front lines.
Right.
Yeah.
So they must be able we must be able to liaise with them to ensure that, first of all, they understand what a rapid screening is.
Okay.
Because we deal with victims of trafficking. Persons, like, for example, Latin American female who come here solely for the purpose of prostitution and so on. That's not human trafficking.
If they come willingly.
Yes,
right.
But persons who come here and the network and they intend to profit off of them by taking them to bars and spas and so on to work, yes, this is what we're interested in. So the screening, is pivotal in terms of making the determination as to whether a person is here for other reasons or whether they're here as victims of trafficking. The police and the Coast Guard, and the high seas, they have to make some rapid decisions out there. So we are in partnership with them. As a matter of fact, we want to take a deeper dive in terms of where the ports in Venezuela that is frequently used to make that jump across to Trinidad. So,
Is there a relationship between the governments in terms of your counter trafficking unit? I don't know if there's a version of that in Venezuela.
mutual legal assistance,
Right.
the Venezuelans, and they normally ask us, to assist them because they might have a report that a member, somebody from Venezuela is held up in, let's say, Mova,
Right.
and the person is able to drop a location. They will normally come to us, right, under the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, and they say, look, we need a rescue done, and we will do it. We are developing this relationship further so as to liaise directly with prosecutors and so on in Venezuela, so that we have that type of, but that relationship is still in its embryonic stages, so we're looking forward because that will help a lot in terms of dealing with this and dealing with it comprehensively.
Is that something that often happens where you have to go in and do these rescues?
Yes, it is, yes. Because sometimes a victim is, let's just go back a little bit. When people are lured to come to Trinidad and Tobago for a better life, where you can work and send money back to your family and so on, when they fall for that and they end up either in Griria or Tocopita waiting for a boat to come across, once they hit the high seas, they lost all control of their identity, of who they are. So when they land in Cedros and that maxi come and pick them up, their life has changed. They tell them you have a debt. Yeah. So how a young Latin American female, how is she going to pay back that debt? It doesn't leave much to the imagination. And there are people there who are exploiting this fact. Yes, and taking advantage of. They form networks. Yes, so we now have to form networks amongst law enforcement to fight the networks.
In terms of your public awareness campaign that you've been on, the drive that you've been on to get the public more aware, more involved in the conversation, what has the response been when you go to the schools, when you go to the churches?
Fantastic. And at this time I want to really give commendations to Ms. Annalise Singh, our communications officer, because she has taken lead in this. She's taken charge in this. But we operated on a partnership with this too. We had Trinity Dance Theatre prepare a piece, Silenced, and we moved because we believe the arts really help bring the message across to our young people.
Say that again for those who don't hear it.
I believe the arts is an important vehicle to bring the message to our young people. It's my belief.
I firmly agree. I agree with your belief 100%.
Yes. So we had Silence moving through schools in Port of Spain, in South, and the reception was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I would encourage people to go on our Facebook page and watch and see the work. We also go to corporate Trinidad and Tobago, the banks, judiciary. So we are moving in a direction where we want persons to understand what we do and why we do what we do.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we wrap up this morning, Director, can you tell us some of the ways that we can identify and report potential cases of trafficking?
This whole idea of trafficking in persons, they require residence.
Right.
So our residences, of course, is we find them in communities. So from the community perspective, if it is that persons in the community notice that you have people who are neighbors now, new neighbors now, who are locked away, you don't see them. On evenings, a vehicle come and whisk them away, and they come back. They don't interact within the community. Or if they do, they're always chaperoned by somebody. There's somebody lurking over them to ensure that the communication, stays with it. That's just one aspect.
Right.
The fact that sometimes people, they might appear disheveled. They might appear, unkempt. Yeah. These are some of the things that you look for, especially in the community. And the Counter Trafficking Unit, we pride ourselves on the fact that we place a high premium on confidentiality. So that when people see these movements and so on in the community and they report it to us, we give the guarantee that information will be kept in strictest confidence and it wouldn't leak out. Because we know that people have concerns about giving information to the authorities and the repercussions that may come. So we give people the assurance of that. But really and truly, it is the sort of unconventional behavior within your community that would cause you to notice that, hey, something is wrong here.
Something is wrong here.
Yeah?
So we need to get back to that village living, because I find
That's
oftentimes
right.
a lot of people have their whole house locked up, so they know what's going on in their community.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a fact. Yeah.
All right, how do we report it though?
Our hotline, so the Counter Trafficking Unit has a confidential hotline only answered by officers, so to attach, 800-4288, that's 800-4288, 800-4CTU.
Right. Let me say thank you guys very much for the work that you're doing, and thank you for coming this morning to give the public a little bit more awareness so that we can all be informed and go forward together.
Let me encourage Trinidad and Tobago on July 30th, wear blue.
All right, don't start early. Let me say thank you very much to the Director of Counter Trafficking Unit, Alan Miguel, and Dane Marie Marshall, the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit, for joining us this morning to discuss World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, which is happening on the 30th of July. We were in blue that day, but if you see something, as the TTPS always say something. You can call them at 800-4288. We take a quick break, and we come back with more in our morning show. Stay tuned.
Where are we right now?